Hi guys, welcome to this quick review about the Lenovo Fingerprint Mouse Generation 2. Here on the left side we have Generation 1, here on the right side we have Generation 2. But I also want to say a word about the biggest competitor. I would say that's the Dell. I think the model is called 819, something like that. But let's first focus on the Lenovo Generation 1 and Generation 2. They look very similar. They have exactly same profile, same shape. Yeah, they look pretty much same from top and from underneath and from the side. They have the same weight. There is not much to see from the outside. The only thing, I hope you can see that, it's more like matte, and it's not only like a matte finish, it's also a little bit rough compared to the Generation 1, which is super smooth. It's definitely more rough. Yeah, hold them here side by side. Maybe you can see that. Of course, I've been using this one here for a year or two, but I think it's not from using. I think it's a really different design, so you can easily compare them. Maybe even a little bit different color. This is more like grayish. This is totally black. And what you can also see is a little bit difference regarding the fingerprint sensor. This thing here was totally flat in Generation 1. Generation 2, it's not totally flat. I mean, there's no real big bump or so, but it's definitely better visible, and you can feel this area here in the middle. I mean, this thing here is very easy to find and hold. I mean, you actually feel just the round center here, and here it's a little bit weird, but this thing is something which you're just using a couple of times per day, so nothing to worry about. This very little elevation. The mouse, I would say, is pretty similar. I couldn't feel any difference. What we also have here, at least at the beginning, I noticed that it's a little bit more rough, but maybe it's just because I've been using the Generation 1 for a year or even more. There's no big problem when you're using like a leather mouse mat or so, but when you're using one with fabrics, you can feel that there is a little bit of resistance, but probably it's just something which is at the beginning. Maybe this one here, Generation 2, is a little bit easier to press, almost too easy. I don't know actually if there's a difference between left and right. I almost have the impression that on the right side it's easier to push. I don't know if this is a general thing. Here it looks very similar. Here I have the impression that on the right side it's easier. So especially at the beginning when I was using that, I mean, I've been using that just for a day to see the comparison, see the difference. And at the beginning I was pushing a couple of times accidentally here on the right side, especially because it's very cold here, even in Florida since many months, way below average temperatures, and so I tended to cramp my hand here, and so I was pushing a couple of times here accidentally, but I've got used to that. Just happened at the beginning, now not anymore. Regarding general usage, I also couldn't find any difference. I'm not sure if they increased the DPI, but I couldn't feel any real difference. I wished they had upgraded the wheel here. I'm not a big fan of these very thin wheels. I mean, it's not a plastic wheel, it's more like a rubber wheel. You have enough grip, but I wish they would have done it like the Dell mouse here. I really love this much more than this thing here, but in general they are still much better than the Dell mouse. One of the biggest disadvantages of the Dell mouse is that it's wobbly. You can already see that because it's just touching the mouse mat here and here a little bit. I mean, you can get used to that somehow, but definitely nothing which you can use for gaming or so. I mean, these mice are also pretty lightweight, but even as a gamer you can use lightweight mouse. Doesn't always have to be a very heavy one. I know some gamers who prefer even lightweight mice, so no problem with that. Feels pretty comfortable even over longer time. I had the impression that it's a little bit small at the beginning, but it was just because I've been using a really large mouse before. Also, I wanted to talk a little bit about the fingerprint speed. I had the impression when I compared this couple of times to unlock the computer between this and this. By the way, if you're upgrading or like replacing this mouse by this one here, you have to re-enter the fingerprints. They won't work in the exact same way. This is always the case when you're switching, upgrading, when you're just using any new device with fingerprint. You have to enter the fingerprints again, and so I had to do this here as well, and I had the impression that it was a little bit slower, especially regarding the recognition when I was entering this for the first time. But for unlocking the computer it was not a big problem when I was really hitting the button here, or the reader really in the center, then it unlocked almost immediately, so no problem with that. I wish they had upgraded a little bit the design. It looks very simple, again very lightweight, maybe too lightweight for some people, but for me it's absolutely no problem. I just noticed the difference at the beginning, but now I really love it. By the way, of course, the Lenovo mouse, my absolute favorite. I mean, there are not many fingerprint reader computer mice around. This is pretty much the only competitor, and there's no chance to compete with the Lenovo. So if you ask me at the moment, I would go with the generation 1, but maybe it's just because I'm used to this one here, so no problem with the generation 2. Probably you can get only the generation 2 anyway at the moment, at least on the Lenovo website, but maybe you can still find the old one cheaper on eBay or some other place, and then it would be definitely a very good opportunity if you can get the older one cheaper. But also the new one is not very expensive, usually just around $25, something in this area, and definitely cheaper than the Dell here. And so I would say that's it for now. I hope I've been able to help you a little bit with this video. If you have any questions or comments, or you have some other opinions on that, then just let us know down in the feedback area. I'm always happy to talk about these things. And if you like the video, give me a thumbs up, subscribe my channel. Thanks for watching. See you next time.